Hi, I'm Kelly. As a life coach, I've noticed that the work I do with people isn't about their relationships or their jobs. It isn't about their kids or even how to find a way to get all the laundry done. All the work we do together centers around finding the answer to one simple question. What does it mean to live a fulfilled life? Join me as I explore this question and more in conversation with others in the Fulfilling Life interviews with me, Kelly Dahl, as your host. Hello everyone, it's Kelly again, and I'm here today with Toni from Makearoo. Toni, good morning. It's so great to see you and talk face to face. We've talked before, but this is the first chance to talk face to face. So welcome to the Fulfilling Life.
Thank you. It's so great to be here and see you, interact with you like this. It's so fun.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me.
Yeah, this whole series is like a gift to me, seriously, to be able to talk with people and then share it with everybody, which is even more fun. So why don't you start? I know a little bit about you, Toni, but why don't you tell everybody about you and the work that you do?
I am the founder of Makearoo.com. And I call myself a creative instigator, and I get to do that because self-employed people get to make stuff up like that. I am a creativity coach, and I lead retreats for creative people. So, I call us weirdos and shiny object chasers, tongue-in-cheek, but creative people are, we're delightfully weird, and I love that. So creatives are my people, and I love helping them get more out of the work that they do and have fun with the work that they do. So that's pretty much my gig, and I love it.
Lovely. And you definitely do bring the fun in everything that you do, which is something that I find so refreshing about your writing and everything that you put out into the world. It just infuses the fun and the humor with everything, which is great. So we're here today talking about fulfillment and what it means to live a fulfilled life. So first, can you share with everybody how you answer the question of what does it mean to live a fulfilling life?
I've been thinking about this since you sent me some questions and just the general topic. And I think for me, the baseline response, just the beginning response, is not just knowing yourself, but really liking and loving yourself. I think that you can know yourself really well, but if you're in there pile driving yourself into the ground every day with inner criticisms and you don't like a lot of the parts of yourself that make you unique, fulfillment's going to be feel more elusive. So I've really been on a quest the last couple of years to get to know who I am and embrace who I am, and really like and love myself. And I know that that's made a difference in my life and in my work. When you're unhappy, it's funny. You tend to find yourself surrounded by unhappy people too, because misery really does love company, and there is a comfort in that kind of mutual complaining circle and all that kind of stuff. But then when you embrace really who you are and the idea of who you were meant to be, what type of person you were meant to be on this earth, suddenly you find yourself surrounded with those types of people, and it's a ripple effect that I love it. I can't get enough of it. So I just find people like you have come into my life, since I've made these changes, so it's marvelous. So really, and I know it seems like a cliche to love yourself and like yourself, but I think that that's really square one.
Yeah, and I love how you bring it a step further beyond just knowing and listening to that inner voice to loving it and being proud of who that person is, and all that is so important, because it's listening to that voice, but then loving that voice so much that you want to take it out into the world. And it's definitely a process of getting there. So I would love to hear, you alluded to the fact that you didn't always live your life that way, maybe, and that you've made some changes to bring more positivity and positive people into your life. So what would you say are some of the things that you do to bring that love for yourself and that feeling of fulfillment with yourself?
I kind of have to be my own sheepdog a lot of the times, not just in like my concentration in terms of when I'm working on stuff. I pace a lot when I'm writing. I get up and change the sheets or do a chore and get back in the chair, I have to herd myself back in the chair. And the same thing happens when negative thoughts happen. I've lived most of my life with a heavy dose of negative self-talk, and I've been learning to replace that with kindness, with kinder self-talk, where Kate Swoboda, whom we met through one of Kate's marvelous offerings on Overwhelm for women, and she was the one who came up with the idea for me of considering our inner critic like a well-meaning friend or relative. So you don't talk to that part of you that's criticizing you. You don't say, try to stamp her out or kill her. You kind of go, thanks for your input, but I've got this. I'm going to think about this a different way. And so for me, it's just that kind of continual internal dialogue, and just kind of reframing. I think that my baseline too, personality is optimist. And so I'm kind of letting her thrive and come out to play instead of being that dour, practical, this isn't going to work, you're doomed, we'll never make it. It's just like, so that, basically talking to myself in my head all day.
Which we all do. It's
my head.
It's no secret, we all do it. And you were talking about with fulfillment that the more you love yourself and feel great about who you are, you bring these amazing people into your life. And the idea, if you're miserable, you kind of attract miserable people. But I think it's a self thing too, right? So when you are allowing yourself to have positive thoughts, it's that contagion effect that you continue to have those positive thoughts too. And it's easier to keep it up once you start, with some tools like what we learned from Kate, and other tools that I'm sure you have at your disposal to bring that, to make that shift to positive thinking. It certainly isn't easy, right? And it takes practice as whoa, might have to edit that out. I bumped a chord there. All right. Sorry.
So something I would do. That
all right.
I just love you.
It's because I have this high-tech setup, right, with cords at my feet.
Yes. And
old houses that don't have enough plugs.
Toni of 2 years ago would have been like, oh, the whole interview's ruined and I'm such a failure and how could I let that happen? And now it's like, oh, geez, everybody knocks a lamp over once in a while. Who doesn't screw up like that? It's totally cool. It's cool, man. It's okay.
Exactly.
And it's like lightening up is such a key to living a fulfilling life. And, I have a history of anxiety. And, really, the kids used to call me Mrs. Monk. I was so bad, I was germaphobe and just any changes in the plan. And it was like, and I know I don't come off as that type of person, but that sort of thinking ruled my life for so long. And now it's like when a deviation happens, I'm learning, like, just roll with it, man. Just lighten up because, we can't control what's going to happen as much as we want to and as much as we plan and put stuff in our calendars and set goals and all that kind of stuff. The outcome, I used to get so mad at that phrase, detachment to outcome. It used to just really piss me off. And now I get it because the outcome matters. It doesn't mean don't set goals, but it's that white knuckling toward this precise answer that tends to run us afoul, where it's kind of like being a little bit looser, I think brings us better results. And
it feels so much better too, right? To let yourself like laugh and crack up during an interview when you're supposed to be professional.
I can be professional and be completely silly, which is, really,
right.
It's like, pinch me. Is this my life? Like, I get to be irreverent and goofy. The best review I got from Camp Makearoo was one of the attendees looked at another attendee and said, she has absolutely no filter, does she? And I was like, he gets me. He got it,
Yeah.
It's so great. Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you don't enjoy the process of getting there, those goals aren't going to be fulfilling anyways, because you've been stressed out completely that you won't even know how to enjoy it once you get there. Lightening up.
I used to go numb when I would reach, like, my favorite, I was a freelance writer for 10 years for magazines and websites. And I ultimately developed a sort of niche as an outdoorsy family travel writer. And my favorite article that I did was dog sledding with my kids. My 2-year-old laid in the back of the sled and screamed like a siren the entire time, which still makes us laugh. But we had a blast, and I was so proud of doing that, selling that article and writing it and having that experience. And when it came in the mail, I was kind of like, whatever, set it aside. And, that breaks my heart now thinking about it, because it was like, the goal, I would push so hard to get to the goal that I couldn't savor the goal. And so now I'm learning to kind of slow down and pause and go, hey, you need to thank yourself. You need to pat yourself on the back for this. You worked hard for this. This matters, So, yeah, I don't experience that kind of numbness so much anymore. And again, it is a process. It wasn't like I snapped my fingers and woke up doing cartwheels in my home office and everything's happy-go-lucky peppy. But it really is like, it is an unfolding. And I was listening to an interview where someone, I can't think of the sort of the interview, they were talking about the idea, it was Jonathan Fields, The Good Life Project.
Okay.
They were talking about the idea of running a business as a practice and not just like an endeavor or an exercise or something. And we both do yoga, so I know that you get what practice means. It's not, there's no end goal in yoga, really. It's a process. And so a fulfilling life is the same thing. It's a process and a practice. Mm-hmm. And practice makes perfect. I don't believe that. Perfect is not, it's not on my radar anymore.
Yeah, and I love that idea of thinking of a business or your creative life or your creative endeavors, whatever you put in there as a practice, your yoga practice, your meditation practice, and ultimately your life practice and part of a practice is using tools that you have and doing them the same way, changing them up, taking what you have at your disposal and mushing it up and seeing what you get, right? Yes. And repeat and repeat and repeat. Which if you believe in your practice and you have a practice that fills you up on a day-to-day basis, then you're also leading yourself towards that ultimate feeling of fulfillment, which isn't a destination by any means. It's moment by moment, but thinking of it as a practice.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No,
fulfillment itself is a practice.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I really like about practice too is that idea that you can mess up sometimes, and it doesn't matter because you get another chance. There's no ultimate, everything is ruined when you are in a practice.
You're not a failure because there's a typo on your website. You're not, and I know people say, I can't do business with someone who's got a typo on their website. It's like, well, you're not my client, and that's totally fine. That's cool. You're not a failure if you knock a lamp over during an interview. You know? I mean, it's like, really. Right. I mean, and so, yeah, it's kind of like, none of us are failures per se, but, it's like rolling with it and laughing along the way. I just think that laughing at yourself, laughing at the things that can happen, I mean, you just learn to laugh at everything, and it just makes everything more fun.
Yeah.
And some other things that I do, I know you had mentioned like different tools that you use. Mm-hmm. I've developed a meditation practice over the last couple of years. And by meditation practice, I mean, seriously, like I'll get up 15 minutes earlier, force myself to sit in a chair, like not in an unhappy way, but it's like I'm a spaz, Right. And I just follow my breath for like 6 or 7 minutes. And I have an ambient noise app, and I just listen to that, and I can feel it when I don't do it, but it's just this kind of pattern of calming my mind, my hummingbird brain. I do gratitude journaling. I'm huge proponent of gratitude journaling, and I know that there's science out there that supports the idea that expressing gratitude regularly like boosts your brain chemistry. When I had postpartum depression, it was really about really bad baby blues after my first son was born. I did not understand why I was sobbing uncontrollably. And I remember holding him in a rocking chair and just rocking him and just naming things for which I was grateful until I couldn't think of anything. I must have gone for an hour, and I felt better. Yeah. And that changed my life. It was like, wow, okay, I'm going to start writing these things down regularly, and I have been, and it really makes a difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And seeing it as a practice, too. And I know, in doing these interviews and talking with people, the practices are typically really simple, because the reality is that we're all busy and we're all doing a lot of things. It doesn't take, maybe with the exception of my interview with Karen Mason-Miller, who's a Zen priest who has a bigger meditation practice because that is her life's work. But for most people, it's 5 minutes, it's 6 minutes, it's even less than that sometimes, of just reconnecting to your breath, to take that moment to find a little bit of stillness in the chaos, or it's a simple gratitude practice, and writing it down sometimes, and just thinking about it sometimes, or sitting with a baby and rocking, to find everything that you're grateful for. And being a practice, it doesn't mean like letting go of the perfection of the practice too. The perfection is not the goal. It's not writing down 5 things every single night. It's making sure that you have space for bringing it into your life, so that it does make an enormous difference. But it, like you said, it is a journey, and that doesn't mean that things still don't get in our way at times too. We're not all like rainbow life over here because we breathe and are grateful. So you mentioned that a lot of your challenge has been in terms of negative self-talk and being very critical to yourself, which would definitely be that white-knuckled feeling too, and being anxious. What are some of the other things that now can get in your way and mess up your practice a bit, I guess?
I still have to work hard when things don't go according to plan. I have to really redirect myself. I used to just get really cranky about it, and now it's like I'm learning to just kind of go, okay, one of the kids just threw up, and that's like my worst nightmare. I mean, I absolutely cannot deal with that. My mom's always like, once you have a kid, nothing bothers you. I'm like, you know what? They're old enough to clean it up now. I don't want to deal with it. I'm not that mean. But, yeah, so it's like, that will freak me out. And now it's kind of like, okay, so I'm going to get off track for a couple of days. So what?
Yeah.
And I remember I wrote a blog entry a long while back on Makearoo about the important stuff always gets done. And it was part of the experience that I learned through losing my dad was that, when someone that you love passes away, you drop everything. And guess what? The world doesn't stop moving because you didn't get your newsletter out the week your dad died. I mean, and so that taught me a lot, of just that's what I say to myself. The important stuff always gets done, because it really does. And everything else can wait. So, sick kids happen. Canceled appointments happen. We just put tires on the minivan, normally it would have been, OMG, our budget's ruined. Right. It's like, no, I'm grateful for the abundance that we had, and spending that money makes room for more money to come in, and we're fine, Yeah. So I think it's just reframing, away from a victim mentality, or away from just feeling angry or sorry for yourself, and toward seeing the abundance and seeing the humor and seeing the blessings. Yeah. And the latter way feels about 1 million times better. And I know that. So I'm just kind of always reaching for that better feeling. And it gets easier with practice too. It really does.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree with you. I think that you do have that ability to shift it in the moment, and you can freak out or you can say, okay, this is the way that it's going to be, and we'll see what happens going this route instead of the other route that I thought was the best one to go. And it's not easy, and it does take practice, but it gets easier, and it feels so much better than the freakouts.
Yeah. And as we talked about earlier, the bad feeds on the bad, the negative feeds on the negative, and the positive feeds on the positive. It really does.
Yeah.
So, and I think that, again, it's like, it's not endpoints, it's not achievements, but it's that kind of the balance, where they talk about healthy eating, where you kind of shoot for 80-20, instead of doing some sort of rigid, like, I'm giving up all X and never eating Y again. It's kind of like, 80-20, I'm going to shoot for that kind of balance in my life. And I feel like that's more the secret to a fulfilled life. It's not rigidity, it's not perfection, it's flow and flexibility and showing up again and again and again and again, and saying, I want more, and I'm going to go for more.
Mm-hmm. And being okay with asking for more, and knowing that you're worthy of asking for more, which really cycles back to that first thing that you talked about as far as loving yourself, getting to know who you truly are, but then also loving that person that you see every day and nurturing that person that you see so much that you are willing to ask for more, and you're willing to make the effort to create a life that you love every step of the way.
Absolutely.
Toni, I think one thing I love so much about what you do, like I said in the beginning, is there's always fun and laughter, which you brought to this interview in unexpected ways. But also that you're very, very real and relatable in every way, which I know people love to see and connect with. So I thank you. I thank you for sharing that with everybody today. Can you please tell us all where we can find you, and a little bit more about how everybody can connect with you through your work, and also in person through Camp Makearoo?
My website is makearoo.com, so it's the word make and then aroo. And all my social media, Linky, Love, is all on that site there. And there's also information about Camp Makearoo and my coaching services at the site as well. Again, Camp Makearoo is May 10th through 12th. It's a 3-day series of shenanigans in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. It's on Lake Geneva. It's in Fontana, Wisconsin. It's really easy, really close. I've got a couple of great special guest stars up my sleeve, and some fun stuff that's going to happen there. And it's an excuse to connect with your creative self, your creative dreams, a project you want to launch, or a shift in your business that you want to do. It's a fantastic time. That was the second best. Well, really, you can't get a better review than this. Someone came up to me at the end of Camp Makearoo and said, I loved every minute.
Wow.
And so wonderful. If you want a conference/retreat that gives you that kind of experience, come and join us, because we're going to have fun.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for being with me here today, Toni. It's been lots of fun to talk with you, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much. I hope so.
All right. Great.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.